Hello, it is Jack Gill and welcome back to Anfield Agenda. Big night tomorrow night. Liverpool return to Champions League action. It is the round of 16. Big game, it will be played in Budapest due to coronavirus restrictions in Germany. Really looking forward to it. But before we get into my preview and my team news prediction, we caught up with Leon from Boyle Sports, who will tell you his tips ahead of tomorrow night.
What's up, everybody? As you can see, it's that time of the week where I'm joined by Leon from our sponsors, Boyle Sports, to have a little look ahead to the Reds Champions League game, which should be, Leon, in Leipzig, but is actually taking place in Budapest.
Yeah, look, at least it's on. I think it's a welcome break away from the Premier League for Liverpool, to be brutally honest. We're going through a difficult patch. I think it's a prolonged difficult patch, really, since the turn of the year. We all thought we'd turn that corner with a couple of away wins in London, but unfortunately, since then, it's gone from bad to worse. Couple of players suffering with confidence. Alisson, we all came out in his defence, rightly so, after those couple of unforced errors against Man City. Crazy decision against Leicester for the second goal. I don't know what he was thinking, but I think when you look at a player like him, he's obviously a fantastic goalkeeper. He's been a revelation since he's come to our club. He's been one of the main reasons why we've been successful. But if these mistakes continue to happen, I've no doubt he'll be playing tomorrow night. But if these mistakes continue to happen, do you take him out of the team for a little while? Kelleher has done exceptionally well when he's come in for Alisson. He's a young kid as well, but I thought we saw the maturity and mentality of Kelleher when he played that last Champions League group game. And Alisson is our number one, will be for a long time to come. I'm convinced of that. But if he were to make another kind of unforced error, Klopp's got a big decision to make.
Yeah, it must take an awful lot of mental strength to be that last line of defence. And as you've said, we wouldn't have won the Champions League without Alisson. We wouldn't have had so many major moments, and none of us have anything but positive stuff to say about the man, because he is, I call him our big, beautiful Brazilian. He's absolutely fantastic, makes tremendous, one of the best one-on-one goalkeepers that I've seen in a very long time as well, when it comes to taking a striker on who's trying to go around him. Yeah,
makes himself big, doesn't commit, almost always makes the striker trying out with him. And that's the sign of a class goalkeeper. He's willing to play that cat and mouse game with you for as long as he possibly can. He's been brilliant for Liverpool Football Club. No one is even going to question this man's ability, because he is one of the top keepers in world football. It's just, as a goalkeeper, and you make a good point, you're the last line of defence. It's everything you do wrong is always under the microscope, a lot clearer than any outfield player ever will. A striker could miss 6 one-on-ones and he would not get as much attention or as much focus put on him if a goalkeeper makes 1 or 2 mistakes in back-to-back games. But I think Alisson is strong enough. I think he's big enough. He'll take this challenge on board and hopefully kick it off with a fantastic performance against Leipzig in the last round of 16 in the Champions League.
Before we move on to ask you for a few predictions, Leon, I want to just have a little chat around the manager, because we've seen the post-match press conference after Leicester City, and there wasn't a Liverpool fan or football fan around the world that didn't feel for Jurgen right then, because, on top of managing a major football club throughout a global pandemic and being the figurehead of this football club and the face of the club, he's dealing with the loss of his mother, Elizabeth, who sadly passed away. And, mate, I've lost my mother, and at least I was able to go to the funeral and say goodbye. Pep was similar. He lost his mother. I can't imagine what it must be like to lose the loved one and not be able to go and say goodbye. That must take an awful toll. So it shows he's human.
Oh, look, he's absolutely human, Craig. There's no doubt about that. I think looking at Jurgen Klopp, I think the reassuring thing from Liverpool's fans' kind of perspective is, I think all that rumours was absolutely nonsense from this mysterious WhatsApp group that was created. I wonder who could have started something like that. But I think Big Jurgen came out, and we all saw how much it hurt him that we've lost our league title, how much he cares for the city, for the fans, for the club, for his players, for everyone connected with Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp is a warrior of a man, and I believe you'll see the real Klopp now. I thought his pre-match press conference ahead of Leipzig is exactly the response you get from a leader, from a winner, from a warrior, and that's what Klopp is. There's like, we must put it into. You've got to look at the job he's actually done to this football club since he's come there, what he's brought in and what he's got rid of, for pretty much not spending that much money at all, and to win us a Premier League title for the first time in 30 years, to nearly win it back-to-back, to get to 2 Champions League finals back-to-back. The man is an absolute legend and will go down in Liverpool Football Club's history as one of the all-time greats, in my opinion. He's not going anywhere for quite some time. We need a bit of a rub of the green. We need something just to go for us. We need a decision. We need a little bit of luck. We played very well for long periods of the game against Leicester. There was a lot of stuff that was done right. But then there is a bit of a weakness to us at the moment that goes through a kind of a lack of winning, maybe a little bit of a lack of confidence, that when Leicester got back to 1-1, when that mistake happened at 2-1, I didn't really see us coming back to even get a draw. I felt you could see it being drained out of us. So we need a performance, or we maybe just need a win. I think our performances are okay, actually. I'd like to see us win playing bad. I'd actually love to see that. I'd love to see a scrappy 1-0. And maybe tomorrow night could be that night that we might just not play our best, but just get a win, Craig, because winning, it just changes mentality. And I think if we can get over the line against Leipzig, we might just see a different Liverpool team.
Well, talking about that game against Leipzig, what have you got for us? I know you've looked through and you're trying to find some value there for the customers. What have you got?
Yeah, and look, you know what? Mo Salah, I suppose, Craig, a lot of people were questioning his desire, his effort at the club. Does he want to stay? Does he not want to stay? I think even the goal he scored against Leicester, what a beautiful finish. And when you look back at Mo, yes, okay, it was a penalty against Man City. You look at the couple of goals against West Ham, his effectiveness against Spurs. He's probably the man that's really still standing up at the moment. So for me, I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. I think Salah to score first at almost 3-1, 11-4. I think for me, Craig, that's worthy of a bet, because I just look at Mo and he's our penalty taker. He will get into one-on-one situations. I thought Mane was doing a lot of the stuff he done well 2 or 3 seasons ago on Saturday, taking players on. Bobby's moment of genius to set Mo up for the goal. I just love it, Craig, if Jordan Henderson would be played back in the middle of the park. I just think we're missing his energy. We're missing getting the ball back quick. And we're just missing him in the middle of the park. And it's a big decision for Jurgen. We don't know yet, do we, if Fabinho is going to be okay for Leipzig. It's a toss of a coin. So it's going to be interesting to see who the first 11 is. But I think as soon as we can get Jordan back into the middle of the park, I think we'll be a better side for it.
The good news is that Kabak and Nat Phillips are registered or are available in the Champions League squad, where Phillips wasn't for the group stages, and obviously with Kabak having been brought in now. So that does give the option for Klopp to maybe move Hendo back into midfield, and even if it's with Curtis Jones and Gini and Thiago gets a rest, because he didn't look himself at all against Leicester when he came on for James Milner.
No, he didn't. And to me, it looked as if you're never happy to see a player left out, but I was happy that he was going to get a rest, because I think that's what he was on the bench for, was to give him a rest ahead of Leipzig. I think Thiago's knowledge of Leipzig could propel him to get a start tomorrow night, because he knows them inside out. But I think if you look at Curtis Jones, again, very good on the ball. He wants the football all the time. It would be a big call to play Phillips and Kabak together in a last 16 first leg tie. I don't know whether Jurgen would do that. So let's see who's available. But I just feel as soon as we can get either Fabinho with one of those two you've just mentioned, I think we've got to get Jordan back into the middle of the park. Me personally, I'd love to see Fabinho and Jordan back in the middle of the park, because actually having those two guys in front of our centre halves, I don't think it really matters which centre halves are behind them two men, because they will get plenty of protection.
I agree. Leon, as always, it's a pleasure to catch up, and myself, yourself and Ian will be chatting a little bit later on in the week as well, and no doubt we'll have a bit of a reaction to the game. Leon and everyone at Boyle Sports, thank you so much, as always, mate, for the support in the channel and for coming on and giving us a little insight ahead of the games.
No problem at all, Craig, and come on the Reds. We need you. We need a win.
Well, there we have it. There are Leon's tips. But, we'll focus now on the preview and tomorrow night, the team news. I'll start with a preview. So Liverpool face Julian Nagelsmann's Leipzig side. We've got to watch out and be wary of their fullbacks. They've been playing three at the back in recent weeks too. Angelino is and their fullbacks, their wing backs are a focal point of the way they play, their style under Julian Nagelsmann. Their midfield is also very strong. It's going to be a tough game. We saw Leipzig knock Manchester United out of the group stage and finish second in their group, which was a very, very tough group with PSG in, Manchester United in, and Istanbul Basak Sahir. Leipzig went through that group in second place, so we can't underestimate them. We're in poor form at the minute. Lost at the weekend to Leicester by 3-1 as well. But this year, Liverpool will now want to focus on this competition. We're out of the title race in the Premier League. It's top four that we can get at best now, probably. So Jurgen Klopp and this Liverpool side will want to focus on the Champions League, and we'll see that as our opportunity for silverware this season. Which a lot of people will probably disagree with me on, because the current Liverpool side, are we good enough to win the Champions League? Let me know in the comments what you think about that. There's going to be some difficult opposition in the Champions League this season. I think Atletico Madrid are my favourites to win it personally. They've gone to that back five. They're very good defensively under Diego Simeone, and also as well as that, they've found Luis Suarez in very, very good form at the moment, and he's banging in loads of goals for them. They're my favourites, and Manchester City as well. I think are probably in the best state they've ever been to win the Champions League. They've sorted their defence out. They're looking very strong in the Premier League, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do. But nonetheless, the Champions League suits Jurgen Klopp. It suits us. And I think we need to focus on that, and we need to try and go as far as in this competition as possible. And tomorrow is an absolutely massive night. We need to turn this form around ahead of the Merseyside derby. A win in Budapest would be very, very nice for us ahead of the second leg, which maybe at Anfield, maybe moved. We're not sure yet. But at this point, tomorrow is an advantage for us. It should be a home tie for Leipzig, but because of the coronavirus restrictions, it's now in Budapest. No one's at home. It's a neutral venue for both of us. So that does favour us in that respect. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, there's a couple of Leipzig's centre halves that we've been linked with. You've got Upamecano and Konate. So it'll be interesting to see them in action. But as I say, we cannot underestimate them. They're a good side. They knocked Manchester United out. They went far in the competition last season. So yeah, it's a game that we really need to take seriously, and it's going to be a tough ask. Team then, the team I would go for tomorrow night would be in goal, Alisson Becker. A few people disagree with me based on his recent mistakes, but that would be ridiculous. Kelleher is currently injured as well, and I don't think many would want Adrian put in ahead of Alisson. And also, yes, he's made a couple of mistakes, but also he made an outstanding double save against Leicester just after his error. I think we'll definitely go with him tomorrow night. Back four then, Fabinho wasn't in training today. It appears that he's still struggling with the injury that kept him out of the game against Leicester. I think I would like to hope that we will move Henderson into midfield, but I think it is probably likely that we'll see Henderson at the back again. But the centre-back pairing that I would go for personally is Ozan Kabak and Ben Davies. Ozan Kabak had it difficult against Leicester. Alisson didn't help him out with that error. The lack of communication between Kabak and Alisson for Leicester's second goal, and then he was absolutely rinsed. For the third, I think his pace was was brought into question. But, you know, we don't have many better options right now. And as I say, I'd like to see Henderson back in midfield. So for me, I'd like to see Ben Davies starting, you know, his Champions League debut. Would be a big night for him, and Ozan Kabak alongside him. And then Trent and Robbo at the back too. Let me know what you think of that defence, because, you know, I would like to see it, because, as I say, I'd like to see Henderson in midfield. However, you know, the two players new to this Liverpool side, and I can't see it happening, because I think Klopp would like Henderson at the back to guide Kabak through the game again. So I think it will probably be an unchanged back four from what we saw at the weekend. But there is hope, and I would like to see two proper centre halves at centre back against Leipzig. But yeah, that would be my back four. I don't think Klopp will choose it. And the reason for that is because I want to see Henderson in midfield. So he would be my first name in the midfield. He would be in the 6. And then I'd go for probably Gini and Curtis Jones. And I say this, loads of people say, well, where's Thiago? Klopp wanted to rest Thiago against Leicester. That's why he was on the bench. He wasn't fully fit. But he ended up playing, you know, 70-odd minutes of the game because of James Milner getting injured. So I think Thiago may sit out of this one. And if he doesn't, then he'd probably sit out of the game against Everton at the weekend. Curtis Jones has been in top form. I thought he was brought off a bit too early against Leicester again, like he was against Manchester City. And I'd like to see him start. You know, he's looked really good of late. He has been one of the shining stars in a side that has been underperforming recently. And I'd like to see him start. And alongside him, Gini Wijnaldum, who, you know, I think he's underperformed in recent weeks. He really has, in games where he'd usually be one of the best players for us. You know, he usually does so well in games against top sides, but against both Leicester and Man City, I thought he was underwhelming. So it would be, I'd hope to see better form out of Gini Wijnaldum against Leipzig. And then the front three, I think, you know, it's obvious. The front three, I'd go with Salah, Bobby, and Mane. You know, I think the tried and trusted front three. There's been some questions recently over Bobby Firmino, but I think the issue with the front three at the moment is we don't have many, you know, we don't have players on the bench that we can bring on to compete with the front three when they are underperforming. And, you know, that's what we saw at the start of the season with Diogo Jota. That's what he bought, and he was doing so well. He was pushing the front three. You know, he was coming off the bench and scoring goals for us. And now, since he's got injured, we really have missed Jota. So it'll be good to have him back in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that is my starting lineup. Let me know in the comments who you'd start and your score predictions. My score predictions, I really think we need to, you know, end this poor form ahead of the Merseyside derby. I think we'll see a strong performance from Liverpool tomorrow night. But as I say, I think it's going to be a difficult game, a difficult task for Liverpool. I am going to say, based on current form, I'm going to go with 2-2. I think it's going to be a game with goals. I think it's going to be a tough game, as I say, and it's in a neutral venue. And hopefully Liverpool are at the top of the game. I'd like to see a win tomorrow night. But as I say, tough opposition, and I'm going to go with 2-2. Goal scorers, I'm going to say Curtis Jones will get on the score sheet, and also Trent as well. He loves scoring against the Nagelsmann side. We saw him, obviously, when Nagelsmann was at Hoffenheim, score that beautiful free kick. And Nagelsmann has spoken about that in a Zoom interview with Klopp today. But yeah, hopefully it's a really good game. Hopefully Liverpool can end this poor run of form and go into the Merseyside derby off the back of beating Leipzig. But they are a side to not underestimate. So yeah, that is my preview. Thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you soon, up the Reds.